Hi, this is Chazz Palminteri, and we have a great show today. It's a new episode, and we have a great guest. We have the great Chris Meloni from Law and Order SVU. You guys wanted him, and I got him. I just was a pain in the ass. I said, Chris, come on, I know you're busy, but you got to do the show. You got so many fans. But before I bring him on, I got a little stuff to tell you about. I am really excited. Christmas is coming, okay? Christmas is coming. A lot of great gifts, but I have some new merchandise. And this is great for the guys. You want to impress your girlfriend? Guys, check this out. She'll love you forever, okay? Here we go, okay? You get your girl a hoodie, a Bronx tail, and on the back, you tell her, look at this. Let me show you this right now. Let me see if I get it. Hold it. One of the great ones. You get her this. One of the great ones. And the ladies, you can buy this for your guy too. But you give this to a girl, guys, forget it. You're in. You're in. You can get away with anything. You can go out with your friends, go out Friday night, go out drinking. You get it and say, baby, you are one of the great ones. Trust me. So we have a hoodie, and we have, this is with a zipper. We also have, check this one out, another new one. You can get it on chazzpalminteri.net. Just go to my store, okay? Is it better to be loved or feared? So many people have been asking me for my quotes, okay? Is it better to be loved or feared? I sell them at my one-man show, okay, which you can also see the schedule, chazzpalminteri.net. A Bronx Tale in front. Also, one of the original posters from 1989. You can get that. It's a great gift. And of course, finally, my card. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. It's a great gift for a young child or for someone you want to inspire. I had this card. I put it in my children's rooms when they were young, and they kept it there. My son graduated one of the top the top music school in the country, Berkeley, okay, in Boston. And my daughter goes to the University of Michigan, the top musical theater school in the country. So the card worked on them. So it's a great card, and if you'd like to pick it up, go to chazzpalminteri.net. And you can get so many things on that site. You can go to my merchandise. I do one-on-ones. If you'd like to talk to me about your career or as a writer, director, and want some advice, just go on there. You can have a one-on-one with me. So we have a great show today. Hi, welcome to the Chazz Palminteri Show. This is Chazz Palminteri, and we got a great show for you today. And I promised you this guy. I promised you, and I brought him, and we're going to talk about him right now. But first, he is. You know him. You know him from SUV, Law and Order, and now he has his own show. SUV, Organized Crime, which is great, which I was fortunate enough to do the premiere episode. And everybody said, why don't you get Chris Meloni on? Chris Meloni. And I said, okay. I said, but Chris is real busy. But you know what? I was such a pain in the ass that finally he said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Meloni. Chris, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Chazz. How are you, sir?
I'm really good. For those of you, obviously a lot of you know Chris from Detective Stabler, and that's like one of those classic characters on television, like Tony Soprano, like all those characters that have been on TV that just leave an impression. But Chris has done many movies. He appeared with Julia Roberts in Runaway Bride. Chris did some of the great work on television on Oz. I was fortunate enough to direct a few episodes of Oz. Chris was amazing on that. I think, Chris, you did that for 11 years, right?
No, the SVU I did for 12. The Oz I did for like 6 years.
Oh, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And Chris, just for a little bit, some of the fans want to know a little bit about you. You grew up in Washington, D.C., right? You were born in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
And you have 3 siblings.
I have I have a brother and a sister.
Are they in the business? They're not in the business.
None of my family has nothing to do with this business that we're in. I mean,
This insane business. Okay.
yeah, my sister's a social worker. My brother is retired. He was a CPA.
Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, CPA. Well, that's good to have as an active. And then you went to the University of Colorado, right?
Yep.
Wow. I just want to get some things about you that people ask me. And you came to New York and you studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse, which is an amazing place to study.
Mhm.
I just want to know, how did you go from just one day you woke up and you said, I want to be an actor? Is that how this happened?
Well, the deal was that I was at the University of Colorado, and you go and you're trying to figure out yourself and what you like, what you want to study, and what your major is going to be. And in the meantime, you get to try out all these other kind of classes, right? Your electives. And I was like, I'm going to try acting as a goof, as a lark, right? And man, I entered that class and I'd never felt this way before. And the feeling was this. I instinctively, on a gut level, knew more than the other people there.
Yes.
But I also knew what I didn't know. Like I could see the terrain, I could see the mountain, and I could see where I was on this mountain going, holy cow, I can climb this mountain. I have the tools within me to climb, but it's a really high mountain and I don't know where the end is. But I know I'm somewhere on the mountain. That's how it felt. And I'd never felt that way. That I knew more than anyone else in the class, right?
Right.
So if you're gifted in math, if you're gifted in math, you know what I mean? I just kept feeling like, oh, that's what smart kids must feel like.
Right.
Right.
Well, obviously you were given a gift. You had the gift where you could just go there and the teacher would say things to you and it just made sense. You went, oh yeah. And you just felt better. It's not being like, being braggadocious. It's like you just felt better than a lot of the people there. Let's just face it.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, but that's why I always add in, I knew what I didn't know, which is I wasn't walking around like, oh, look at me. I was sitting there going, I have a really interesting feeling about my connection to this thing, this art. And I need to explore that, right? Because I've never been in this arena, in this terrain of, I have kind of an innate feeling and connection to this thing. And so, that's all that was. It was an exploration.
No, that's fantastic. And then obviously, and I realized that you started out with similar to what I did. You were a bouncer, you were a bartender.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. We all have to eat, right? So we have to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the
days, but
yeah, but look, it is the same deal. And what we do is, especially you, right? We tell stories.
Right.
And what helps you tell stories is living a life, living a
yes.
full, diversified type of existence. And
yes.
Look, you and I, we've kicked around, been at parties. I've been over to your house, vice versa.
Right.
And some of the best stories are out of the bouncing days, the bar, the very lean days. When you're really living, you're like, in a sense, you're on the street, right? You are connected to the moment, to the street, to the people. You're connected to life, and so that just fuels what it is we do. So
absolutely. I mean, you studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse. I studied at the Actors Studio, and I remember Lee Strasberg saying to me, I said to him, what makes a great actor? I remember me asking him that. I was very young, and I asked him, what makes a great actor, Lee? He said, the actors who experienced different parts of life. He goes, that's the real studying. The more you lived, the more you can draw from.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's exactly what you're saying. We have so much to draw from. That's why when we get together, we tell these stories and we just laugh. Do you remember your first kind of big break, Chris?
Yeah. Well, there are, in the pantheon,
many, yes.
But to me, what I think I carry with me because, I first got the gigs that got me out of the bars as a
Right,
bartender or bouncer was the commercials. I did a lot of commercials in New York.
right,
And so, after 2 years of being I just felt like I was the go-to guy for commercials. I was booking all the time. You get tired of that. You're like, well, now I really want to be an actor. But I've always credited David Milch and NYPD Blue.
wow,
They got me. They offered me a 4-episode arc as Jimmy Leary, who was a Westie kind of guy, the Irish gang on the west side of New York, who has a kind of a thing with Kim Delaney.
right,
And it was the first time, because before that, as you said, I'd been doing comedies, a lot of sitcoms.
right,
You were on the Finelli Boys with me,
right. We did the Finelli Boys together.
Joe
Wow.
Pantoliano.
With Joey Pants,
Yeah,
yes.
I've done a few movies of the week in dramatic roles, but that, they never really allowed me to sink my teeth into something. So it was that.
Right.
It was this stint on NYPD Blue, and it really, I felt it in the I felt people, because everyone was watching the show. I just it was the first time I'd had this feeling that
Right.
I was recognized, even though I didn't have the data to back it or boots on the ground direct knowledge. It was a really weird feeling of, oh, people watch this and went, oh, look at this guy. Look what he can do. So that was,
Wow.
to me, that was, and after that, the tumblers started falling.
Yes.
That was about in 96, 97.
Wow, wow. So you would say that 96, 97, that's what NYPD, right? And that was a huge show. I mean, I
Yeah.
could see why doing that show was and it was funny. NYPD and my first break really kind of got me out was Hill Street Blues. So it's always something that you remember got you a little going. But you're right. It's a series of breaks. And would you say after that, what would be your next break? Because a lot of fans always ask me, oh my God, a lot of actors watch my show, directors, writers, besides a lot of people, and they always say they like to learn from people who got there. And so from NYPD, what would you say was your next big break on the ladder?
Well, then what happened was I got the Matrix. I got Bound, the
Down.
Wachowskis. Yeah, the
Great
Wachowskis,
film.
again with Joey Pants. And Joey Pants actually put in a good word for me, helped me get that role. And then one right after the other, it was Runaway Bride and then SVU.
Right, working with Julia Roberts.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that was
SVU.
99.
Well, now SVU, look, when you did it, obviously, I hate when people ask me this question. You didn't know it was going to, you thought, well, I'll go on a series, see how long it goes, I mean, did you expect it to be a long running series, or you just said, well, let's see what happens?
Around year 4 or 5, I started to think this thing might actually stay on the TV.
Wow.
Before then, I was like, I'm like a squirrel gathering my nuts, right? Because it's all, our game is feast or famine, and it's usually famine. So I
Right.
was just like, bringing all my nuts in and just covering them up, and just for
Right.
days. Winter's coming.
Right. And you know what kills me? You meet these young actors today, and because I teach a master class twice a year in the city, and I only do it twice a year, and I love when I get these young actors that go, well, Mr. Palminteri, I don't really want to do television, and I look at them and I go, you should be so lucky if you do television, my friend. They think, now, I mean, they're doing the best work on television now. Let's face it.
Yeah. It's because of the dynamics of entertainment. The platforms have just completely changed, and the economics are such that, a studio doesn't want to take a big gamble on, a crazy, outlandish idea. Breaking Bad, I'm going to have a chemistry teacher and turn him into Scarface. You know what I mean? I mean, a studio would go like, "You want to make a movie of that?" I don't
Right,
know. It seems really chancy. That seems a little,
right,
so TV, it's just an easier shot at doing that, right? Instead of like a 50 million or $100 million outlay,
right.
let's say, let's do a pilot. Let's
Let's
check
do a
out the pilot.
pilot.
Yeah,
Right. But you know what? I got to be honest, Chris, a lot of people, they don't realize that more people will see it on television than will see it in the movies.
yeah,
You know, but because you end up doing it in the movie, and if you're not like one of those big Iron Man or something like that, you'll be there for 3 weeks and then it'll be gone.
yeah.
More people will see it on television than ever in the movies.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's just kind of the attitude of, I really don't want to do TV. Has a lot to do with the power of the big screen, right? And also that maybe
Right.
this sense that I want to be, they're shooting for. I mean, look, when I was young, I was shooting for, I want Robert De Niro's career,
Right. Exactly.
right?
Right.
And but you do what you do, and you get what you get, and you strive for what you strive for. And at the end of the day, you're like, you turn around and you go, not so bad, pretty
Not
happy.
so bad. Oh
Yeah,
my God. I mean, you've had an incredible ride, and
yeah.
there's so much more to come. I mean, I have to tell you, I got to say something. I love the movie 42.
Thank
I
you.
love the movie 42. I thought that was a great movie. And I thought your performance in that was absolutely brilliant. I mean, you did Leo DeRocha so great. I mean, because you kept, and anyway, I don't want to get into acting things, but you were so honest and real, and you didn't like syrupy it up, but you kept it so real that I have to say that I love that movie 42. Anybody gets a chance out there to watch it, it's the story of Jackie Robinson. Watch Chris's performance as Leo DeRocha. It was absolutely brilliant. I thought you were absolutely wonderful in that.
Thanks.
My pleasure. But I got to talk. All right, now let's get into like this character. Let's get into the Stabler, man. So you did this role for 10 years when you first did it, right?
12, yeah.
Before you left.
Yeah.
And what do you think made? Well, let's talk about that before we get into organized crime. What made that? I think the relationship between you and Mariska, am I saying it right? Mariska,
Rishka, yeah.
yeah, was so amazing. Um, you guys had this incredible chemistry from the people that called me and said, ask him if they ever dated. I go, I'm not going to ask Chris that. I mean, did they ever go out? I mean, they have this you have this incredible love, but chemistry for each other. And I think that's something that just happens and was it always like that from day one with you and her?
It was from the moment that I walked into the screen test, and she greeted me at the door. She thought I was John Slattery, because a friend of hers had said, yeah, a friend of mine, John Slattery, is going to come in and, will be auditioning for the role of Stabler. So give him a big welcome. And she goes, Slattery. And I go, no, Meloni. We just started laughing. It was, look, first of all, she's an open-hearted person. So she makes it very easy to connect with.
Yes.
And then from there, I mean, I just think we learned a lot from each other. We
Right.
cared for each other. There were, I think, and I think at the end of the day, these were the two linchpins or cornerstones of whatever it is people see. We're funny people, so we communicate through humor. We always have there's humor that is underneath, even in
Right.
the darkness of what SVU can sometimes be. But on top of that, she and I, on a personal level, were always very honest with each other, to a brutally so.
Right.
And and sometimes it would be difficult for one of us to handle. But at the end of the day, each of us could say this: she's got my back, he's got my back. We got each other. We got each other. And
Wow.
look, there would be weeks at a time when things would be tense, because
Right.
one of us had to sort through what had transpired between us. But at the end of the day, you're like, you get to that next level. It's like, it really is like a solid married couple or a solid partnership where you're like, if you can't tell the truth, you're stuffed. Right?
Right.
You got nothing.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, look, as actors, things get, egos get involved, and there's a time you have to look at each other and say, what's the benefit? What's the good of the show? Let's think about the show and put your ego aside. Just like in a marriage, put your ego aside and think about the benefit of the marriage. I mean, we're both married a long time, so I'm sure we've done that. And it's the same thing with working with a co-star, because if they shine, you shine. If I shine, you shine. And if this person is being treated, they got more lines, and I always never worry about things like that. I care about the work. I just care about the work. That's. When I get on a set, I care about the work. I don't care who's the star of the show. I just want to be great, and that's all I ever care about. I just want to be great. But what makes you?
And by the way, you were on Organized Crime. I had more. I had more people going. Why'd you snuff Chazz Palminteri? I don't write the damn thing.
I know. Well, I'm on the other series, Godfather Harlem, and that would have been a little difficult. But they kept telling me, Chazz, what happened? We thought it was going to be Stabler and you, and I said, no. I'm only on for the first thing. But what makes you? I know we talked about it, but the fans. You have these dedicated fans, Chris, that are just unbelievable. I'm telling you, I've never seen fans like this. That just. They watch that show. They will not back off. I mean, let's see. So the Law and Order franchise has been on what, 25 years, maybe?
Well, the SVU,
SVU, yes.
Yeah, SVU has been on. I think this will be the 23rd season.
Oh my.
Maybe God. 22nd, but 23rd, I think. 500 episodes, man. They just hit 500. I did 270 something.
Two what?
I did
270.
Yeah, I left a decade ago, and they'd done 270. I did 270.
So you left it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. You went. Obviously you left and you went away and you did movies and other things. And And what was the decision? Was it? You just said, you know what, I like to come back, or Dick Wolf, obviously the genius behind this whole thing, said, hey, let's do something. But the way you came back was, but how did that happen, Chris?
Well, it starts with the phone call. There were personal circumstances in my life that made it a good time. But the real clincher was the idea that I didn't want to, I really was not looking for an episodic again. Especially in this world. And it was Dick who wanted to serialize it. He wanted to make an 8-episode arc or a 6-episode arc to tell a story. And that appealed to me because I feel as though you're given more cinematic license to tell a more sprawling story, a more in-depth story. You don't have to always wind it up within 44 minutes of storytelling. And I just think you get a richer canvas, a richer story.
Wow.
From that.
So you know what's amazing is like you both have two different series, but you both interact with each other in the same. I've never, even in the first one, characters would appear in different Law and Orders, and I said, I don't know how they get away with this, but it's brilliant. It just works,
Look, I don't know how the showrunners do it. I just don't know. I mean, every time a script is put in front of me, it's like a miracle. Every episode to me, and I can write, but if you said to me, oh, you can write an episode, I would not be able to do it. I can edit and help, and I can make a scene fuller, or I can
Right, sure.
help the writer get to whatever point they need to get,
Yes.
focus it up, right? So it's what I always say this, I go, you break the rocks, I polish them, right?
Right.
But how these showrunners break these rocks and create out of a blank page, I don't know how it's done.
Yeah, it's very scary as a writer myself. It's very scary when you
Right?
look at that. You look at 120 blank pages, and you got to go, okay, interior, night, you know. But you know what? That's something that just you feel. I don't know. As a storyteller, that just happens in your head, and you just start writing.
Yeah.
But I think, and I know you're a writer and a very good one too. The best advice I ever got was from a brilliant writer who said to me, he said, the only difference between a professional and an amateur is that the amateur writes garbage and gets demoralized and stops. The professional writes garbage and keeps on going. And I never forgot that. He said, the way to write is just write. And just like you said, well, I'm a good polisher, and anyway, my advice to you is, because you're a very good writer, is to write something, and some of it might be garbage, but then look at it, then you can polish it, because writing is rewriting. And I never forgot that. And it always helps me to get by, say, well, if I'm writing garbage, I'll fix it. And that's what I do. I always go, the hell with it. I just feel like, you could fix it. Now, so many actors have asked me, Chris, and I always ask successful actors like yourself. They ask me, could you ask Chris, what, I know you've heard this before, what advice could you give a young actor today, starting up saying, I want to be an actor? And I know what I tell them. What would you tell them, Chris?
What do you tell them?
I always tell them, look, if you really want to do it, if there's nothing else you can do, nothing, and you feel like you have to do this or you're going to die, I say go for it. But if you're doing it and you're not sure, and you have a fallback thing, and you got something else, I would say, well, maybe you should do that, because it's just too hard.
Oh.
It's too hard.
Well, we're in the same arena. I just look at it slightly different. So people ask me, why Jack? And I'm very short on it. I said, I didn't want to act. I had to act.
There you go.
And it was a compulsion. I was compelled to. And it was my wife who actually pointed it out to me. Relatively early on when we were dating, she said, you're so lucky that you have a passion. I thought that was weird, because I thought everyone had a passion. I thought, you know what I mean? I thought it was I thought everyone did. I thought everyone life was, you search for that thing, and you will find it, and then you will pursue it. And I don't know if that's really the case now. She said, you're lucky that you have a passion. And I think the older I get, I think that's kind of true, that it's a little bit, I'm lucky. I think I pursued that passion.
Right.
Or I recognized it, because I pushed it off for a long time. My father was a doctor, a very well-educated man, and my grandfather was a doctor. And life was about education and following almost like a step by step. And there was nothing wrong with it, and there was no pressure to be anything. But what I learned was, you follow the rules, and being an actor is not in the rules, right? An actor, right. Like, what is that? You're going to run off to Hollywood and you want to be a, what is that? You're going to flounce around on stage.
Right. How did they feel about you wanting to become an actor?
No, I could, you know how they felt? It was all on their tongue, which is they bit their tongue and they allowed, right? But there's, and all that is it's worry.
It's worry, yes.
And right. So it was never like, you're a fool, you're making a big mistake. It was just, uh-huh, uh-huh. You see that worried look in their eyes, and they're trying to hide it. It's very funny.
Right.
So,
well, I always tell people, I tell parents when I talk. Sometimes I'll give a lecture at a college, and the parents are there with the acting class, and I'll just tell the parents. I'll say, look, support your children. If they want to do this, support them, because there's enough people in the business that are going to tell them no. And said they're going to get beat up by everybody, so don't worry. They don't need to get beat up by their parents. And I said, in the end, if they don't have it, don't worry, don't quit, don't stop. But they don't need to. They need their parents on their side, and that's the advice I always give. So your parents were very smart. They bit their lip, but they said, "Hey, we love our son. This is what he wants. Let him go." And I think that's great. And my parents were very supportive of me. They just said, "Go for it." And
I got that from I got that from your pops. When I met your father, Joey Pants, one time, I was like, "Oh, look at this cool customer." He's like, he's all proud of you.
My dad was so proud, and he said, "You want to be an actor, you do it." My mother said the same thing, and hey, look, I look at our lives now, your life and my life. We're playing with house money from now on. You know what I mean? I mean, do you feel? Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Do you want to one day? You want to do other things? You want to just continue to maybe do movies more, or just? I know that's a tough question.
Yeah, no, I tell you, the 10 years that I was away from SVU,
right,
was fantastic. I mean, it really was. Short of, I mean, I literally did everything I wanted to do. A blockbuster, a big sprawling blockbuster movie, these indies, these action movies, these very odd productions. I was all over the map, all over the country, all over the map, all over the world. And I was like, oh, this, and I liked, and I wasn't working all the time. Because SVU, any of this network stuff is, it's a 9.5 month commitment of long hours. So it was great. And I learned to fly. I mean, I was jetting around the country.
You have a pilot's license?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was flying a jet around. It's like, wow. And then I realized, oh, wow, flying a jet's really expensive.
Yes, it is.
But I did it for a couple of years, and it was fantastic. And, so I lived all of these fantasies out. And so now 5 years, I always say, I got a place on a beach somewhere on an island.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. And and so I keep going, that's where I'll wind up. But this thing that we do, it's
passion.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop it. It's like, oh yeah, I can quit anytime. You can't.
Yes. But that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You're such a great actor, and you really are. And I don't use that term loosely. You really are. You're the real deal. And I loved working with you. I love doing the show with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Is there anything you want to say to the audience about? Is there anything coming up other than your series, or right now you're just concentrating mostly on that?
No, man, that is, I mean, between family and
right.
I'm locked and loaded. Life is beautiful.
Well, you have a beautiful family, Chris Meloni. Please tell Sherman your beautiful children. You hit the trifecta: your personal life, your family. You're doing well, and that's why I always tell people, we can never. I know we get depressed over stupid things, but we shouldn't be. Because we are playing with house money. I am so excited that you came on the show. So many fans, and I mean that, it's not no blowing smoke. They kept asking me, especially after I did your show, you got to get Chris Meloni on. Thank you, Chris, for coming on the show. God bless you, and I hope to work with you again one day.
Same here. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holiday to you. Thank you,
brother.